Shalom, shalom, real motivation. Terrence McKinney back with a new video. Today's video is knowing your true identity, part 2, characteristics. And today we're going to really deal with the characteristics, the physical characteristics and the descriptions of the people in the Bible. And off top, I want to let everybody know that this video, again, might not be for everybody. But with that being said, I want everybody to know that, on this channel, ain't no division, ain't no pro-hate, or none of that. I'm making these set of videos mainly because I'm trying my best, to stop the self-genocide of my people, because my people really don't know their identity. And so when we don't know our identity, we'll be anything they tell us we need to be. I'm trying to wake my people up so they won't think that they gotta be gangbangers, drug dealers, jack boys, killers, rappers, basketball and football players. It seems like in our community, if we want to do anything positive, 9 times out of 10, we align that with sports, and we don't get far enough, if we don't make it into sports, then we go straight into the life of crime. So I'm trying to wake my people up, because every day you look on the news, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and to make it so bad, it's even trickling down to the younger generation. So the kids now is growing up like ruthless and merciless, and they getting younger and younger with the killing. So I just want to wake my people up the best. So I'm trying to give my people the identity they've been searching for. So maybe if they realize who they is, then we can change this path that's going on. So that's the purpose of me making these videos. This mini series right here is just to wake my people up, to get them the identity that I know they need. Alright, so today, like I said, we're going to be dealing with the characteristics and the physical descriptions of everybody in the Bible. But before we get into that, in the first video that I talked about, called Cursed, I was talking about people that was being hung in a tree. I started off the video off of that, and it's only right that I start this video up by letting y'all know it is one person in this world who was hung from a tree that wasn't cursed. I know y'all looking like who? That's the Messiah. That's Christ. That's Yahshua, Jesus, whatever you referring by. He was actually hung from a tree, and not like crucified on the cross. And I know some of y'all never heard that before, because it's not taught in the churches, and it's not taught when you brought up. When you brought up, it's not taught to you, and so you so used to seeing that image, him hanging on the cross, you get that stain in your brain, and you would never really question that. But the scripture says different. And like I said, I'm gonna let y'all know the books we read now. Is in all the same books. I got here the KJV. This another KJV. This is the proper name version. This is the one I like reading out of, because the letter's real big and it's real spaced out. And then I got the strong concordance, and this is the one I go into for my hard study. And I really like reading out of this one the most, to be honest with you, because there's everything there at once. But the words are so small that I literally have to have the phone on my light shining on there, and I have to really be lighted up, and I really have to be sitting up in an upright position, because the words are so small sometimes when I'm reading out of this one that, I don't know, they like hypnotize me and put me to sleep. So I really prefer to read out of that one, just because it's got everything right there, Hebrew, Greek, and English, and anytime there's a discrepancy with words, I just pull out my phone and go on my app. But for the teaching purposes, we're going to read out of this proper name version, and I would, prefer y'all to get y'all Bibles and y'all read along with me, so therefore y'all know exactly where we at. But we first gonna deal with the Messiah being hung from a tree. All right, I want everybody to get their Bibles, and I want them to turn to Acts 5:30. And just to give y'all a little background on Acts 5:30, and the Acts is wrote by Peter, and Peter was, the Messiah's right hand man. He was the rock. He was the one, that the Messiah said his church was going to be built upon. So anything, Peter writing, you can definitely believe it, and it's really not a discrepancy against it, because Peter was there the whole time, and he seen the rise and the fall of the Messiah. He was literally one of the first disciples that was picked. So if you gotta believe what Peter's saying, and you gotta believe what the scripture's saying, and not to traditions she was taught. Well, okay, so I'm actually started at 29 just to roll into 30. So I'm at Acts 5:29, and I'm gonna read 29 and 30. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey God rather than man. The God of our fathers raised up Yeshua, whom you slew and hanged on the tree." Again, Acts 30. The God of our fathers raised up Yeshua, who you slew and hanged on the tree. And it's more scripture. We gonna go to Acts 10:39. So turn to Acts 10:39. And I'm showing this to y'all, and I'm pointing this out, that he was hung on a tree because he died just the way so many of our ancestors in this country died, that we got thousands and thousands of footage of, that we can go on the internet and pick up anytime. He died just like any other people in this country with darker skin tone died. He was hung on a tree, and it not necessarily was a cross. And I'm going to start on Acts 10. I'm going to start at 38, but 39 is the verse that we going to highlight. 38. How God anointed Yeshua of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went out about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. And we are the witness of all things which he did, both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, who they slew and hanged on a tree. It's crazy once you start looking into the scripture, because you never was taught that. You never was taught that. And I know it's going to be hundreds and thousands of people watching this video, because my videos usually get a lot of views. And I know a lot of people going to see that and it's going to be the first time that they were seeing that, and that he was hung on a tree and not a cross. And we got more scripture. All right, now we're going to turn to Acts 13, and we're going to read 27 through 29. Matter of fact, I don't need to read 27. I'm going to actually read 28 and 29. And though they found no cause for death in him, yet desired that Pilate that he should be slain. And when they had fulfilled all that was written of him, they took him down from the tree and laid him in a sepulchre. And when they had fulfilled all that was written of him, they took him down from the tree and laid him in a sepulchre. And that last word, I might be pronouncing it wrong. It might be specular, but you get what I'm saying. They took him down from the tree. It don't say nothing about cross, nothing at all. And I'm showing it to point that out. Like, we the only people who've been hung on trees. The only people who've been hung on trees. And the Messiah died the same way that our ancestors in this country died again. And then I'm gonna point out the point that he wasn't cursed, and it's all over this Bible that he was hung in a tree. Now we're gonna read some writings from Paul. So we're gonna go to Galatians 3:13. And I'm actually going to read 12 and 13, just because you need 12 to roll into a little bit of 13. Because if I just read 13, some of y'all might get confused and think I'm saying something that I'm not. So I'm going to read 12, then read 13. And the law is not of faith, but the man that does them shall live in them. The Messiah has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangs on the tree. I'm going to read 13 again. And the Messiah has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangs on a tree. And I'm just letting y'all know that the Messiah wasn't cursed. He took on that curse, or that saying of the curse, just so we can all be redeemed, so we can all have, him to redeem our sins. He took away the law of sacrifice. That's basically what that meant. So back in the day when they did something wrong and they sinned, they was actually sacrificing and they was killing, lambs and goats, or they had to make a blood sacrifice to get atonement for their sins. So when the Messiah went on that cross, he did that for the world. So whoever believed in him can repent and get, their sins removed if they repented in his name. So just because he died on the tree, he doesn't necessarily wasn't cursed. He took on that curse. But you see Paul clearly say, cursed is everyone that hangs on the tree. And so I just wanted to bring that out. So that give you a little bit premise of where we finna go with the Messiah, because we finna break down the Messiah's, his characteristics that's in the Bible that show, how he looked and what he actually looked like. And it's not the picture that's hanging up in most of our houses, or most of our parents' houses, or when we go into the church. It's not that picture. It's not that description that's given in the Bible of what the Messiah actually looked like. So now let's go to Revelations. We're going to read 1:14 and 15. Get something to drink, y'all. Again, Revelations 1:14 and 15. And we dealing with characteristics, and we're gonna break this stuff down. 14. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as the snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they were burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Again, his head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, and as they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Okay, that's pure characteristics of somebody. This is Yochanan, John, looking at the Messiah. He's seeing that his hair was white like wool. I mean, that ain't the picture you see. And wool is curly hair. I mean, if you ever seen a sheep or a lamb, the wool is different. That's curly hair. That's matted hair. And his eyes were as flames of fire. That's basically saying his eyes was bloodshot red. And his feet like unto fine brass. If you know what fine brass, as if it was burned in a furnace. Fine brass burned in a furnace, that's darker than my skin tone right there. That's darker than me. That is not no light complexion. And when you get that description of the Messiah, that is not what you see hanging up, in most of these churches and most of these pictures on the internet and all these descriptions of what the Messiah looked like. That's not what you see. And so we gotta clarify this, and we gotta break it down. I know a lot of y'all gonna be out there. A lot of people done read this, and a lot of people will be like, "Well, it don't matter what he looked like, or it don't matter what color God is, or and a lot of stuff it really don't, unless you really hiding something. But we all should know the person we should be looking for, and we should know the true facts of what the Bible say versus what the picture is. And if it don't matter, then why is we got all these wrong pictures and these wrong deceptions of what he looks like? So that lets you know, therefore, it does matter. It matters to somebody because somebody went out their way to change the picture. Now, it don't change nothing with us. I mean, we shouldn't think we superior, or just because, the description is something more like us, that shouldn't make us walking around with our chest poked out or anything like that, because that really don't matter. It ain't about what you look like on the outside. It's about, what you do on the insides and the works that you put away, for eternal life. But we're going to keep breaking this down. That right there sound like that's somebody who look like me. All right, we're going to turn now. One second, I'm pulling on my notes. I'm going to turn to Matthew. We're going to go to Matthew. We're going to read Matthew 19 to 23. Because Matthew 19 to 23 going to actually give us some more, some more clarification and some more reasons why, the Messiah had to be of a dark skin complexion. 19. Well, hold on. Actually, I'm gonna start at 13, and I'm not even gonna read to the 23 because I don't really gotta read to 23. I'm gonna read 13 to 15 because I mean it's all dealing with the Messiah going into Egypt, but we're gonna explain why he went into Egypt. 13. And when they had departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be you there until I bring you forward. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt. And there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, that it was spoken of the Lord the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Let's just break that down. The only reason why the Messiah was going into Egypt, he went into Egypt so he can blend in with the rest of the Egyptians. When you look at the ancient Egyptians and you look at them on the hieroglyphics of their own tombs and their own like pyramids, and when you go into Egypt, they was all dark skinned. They was all a darker race. We was all the same color back then. And the reason why the Messiah went into Egypt, so he can blend in and so he can hide. So he wouldn't get persecuted in Egypt because they just thought he was a regular family. And his whole family was dark skinned. So they went into Egypt to blend in with it. It's proven facts that the ancient Egyptians was a Nubian race. And that's what they call it. I mean, they was dark skinned. And the Messiah was the first one, to go into Egypt. Anytime our people went into Egypt, they looked alike. And we're going to break that down even from Moses to Paul. Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian when he was captured in Rome. And Moses was actually raised as an Egyptian when he was found. And we're going to go into that. And so the Messiah is another person who went into Egypt. And he went into Egypt just so he wouldn't get persecuted. And he was actually called out of Egypt. And when he was called out of Egypt, that's when they went back into Israel. But he went into Egypt for one pure reason: to blend in with the rest of the Egyptians and the dark skinned race. So therefore, they didn't have to worry about running for their lives while they was in Egypt, because Egypt was a big country, and Herod wasn't crossing over going into Egypt looking for the Messiah. But the main reason was so he can blend in with the rest of the Nubian races. And piggybacking off that, we gonna break that down, and we gonna keep going. This characteristics. We're gonna go to Exodus, all the way in the beginning. The second book right after Genesis. We're gonna go to Exodus 2:2 to the 2:10, and now we gonna dig into Moses and his characteristics, which he had to be of the dark skinned race. So we 2:2 to 2:10, and this gonna be probably the most verses I read today together, but 2:2 to 2:10, so we can break it down. And the woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw him that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to watch herself at the river. And her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you wages." And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." So that's just, again, we know what color the Egyptians was. It's a proven fact. We know, they was a Nubian race. I mean, is recorded historically on all their walls. When you look at their pictures on their walls, I mean, the Egyptians now versus the Egyptians then is different, because the Egyptians was conquered. They was conquered by Greece, and once they was conquered by Greece, they started intermingling, and the complexion became lighter. So a lot of times when people see Egyptians today, when they see them on TV or when they go to Egypt, they might not be that same Nubian race that was there, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. But thousands and thousands of years ago, they was a pure Nubian race. And you see what color Moses was for him to be found and raised as an Egyptian. I mean, that was hidden to the rest of the Egyptians. I mean, the inner circle of the family, they knew about that, but everybody in Egypt didn't know that he was a Hebrew boy. Again, because it really wasn't no difference in the skin tone. They looked it just like we looked it, and so it was no difference. Again, they give you the characteristics, and they give you the skin tone of what color Moses was. We gonna keep moving, because we just gonna go through highlighting. Now we gonna go to Judges 16 and 13, and we gonna highlight something different in Judges 16 and 13. We're gonna talk about Samson, and we're gonna go over the description of his hair. So we at Judges 16 and 13. And Delilah said to Samson, "To now you have mocked me and told me lies. Tell me what you might be bound." And he said to her, "If you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web." Again, if you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web. That's describing Samson's locks. Samson had 7 locks. His locks had to be the same hair like we got, like I got right now. It's the dreadlocks, because If you look at the Jewish people over there today, their hair can't even lock up. And can't nobody hair lock up like ours for real. And they have 7 locks. And Samson had long locks. They had 7 locks. His hair had to be like ours, or unless it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't lock up. And so he telling you, we the only ones who wear locks. We the only one who you see with dreadlocks and locks like that. Our hair is the hair that lock up. And again, it gives you the characteristics of what these people had to look like at that particular time for his hair to be locked up and for his hair to be in 7 locks. He had to have some long, long locks. And, his strength was in his hair. So again, it gives you the characteristics of what these people looked like back then. These Hebrews of the Bible was of a darker race. But we're going to keep it moving. Now we're going to turn to Job 30:30. And Job, it's flat out. Job basically telling you what color his skin tone was in Job. So, Job 30:30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Again, my skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Ain't no metaphor. He's speaking. This is what happens to us when we get out in the sun. Our skin get blacker and blacker, and he telling you, my skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I would go swimming all summer long. And by the end of the summer, we used to joke around with each other and call each other purple because we'd be getting so dark and so dark and so dark. But to let you know the complexion of these people, because he's telling you my skin is black upon me and my bones are burned with heat. That's the same thing happens to any of us when we sit out in the sun. And he wouldn't say my skin is black upon me unless his skin was actually black upon him. We're going to keep it moving. Now we're going to go to Samuel 17:42. And we're going to talk about the kings. We're going to talk about King David. Hold on. Okay, 1 Samuel 17:42. I was in 2 Samuel. And when the Philistine looked about and he saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of fair countenance. Again, and when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of fair countenance. So when the Philistines saw David, you know what he saw. Ruddy mean red. That mean like how we call people today red bone, light skin, or the lighter complexion. And fair countenance mean that he was a handsome fella. He had to look good, or else it wouldn't be in there. So when the Philistines saw David, he basically felt like he was disrespected. Because he was basically like, man, y'all put me up against this little young, light-skinned, pretty boy. It is funny because, a lot of people see light-skinned dudes now and automatically think that they soft. That's like, and that ain't right. I know it ain't, for my light-skinned brothers out there, no disrespect, but that's just a stereotype that's been around for ages. And I guess it's been around ever since 5,000 to 6,000 years ago when this book was wrote. So it ain't nothing new under the sun. And that's exactly what it say how the Philistine looked upon David. He said he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of fair countenance. And look at what he said when you read 43. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? and the Philistine cursed David by his gods. So he was disrespected. He felt he was disrespected. He was like, man, y'all got me like I'm the greatest warrior ever. I'm Goliath. I'm a giant. And y'all got me going against this little light skinned young pretty boy. What he gonna do to me? Like, how does he stand a chance? Like, and I'm just giving you the characteristics of David, you know, and it say ruddy. That's red. That's red bone. That's light skin. That's a lighter complexion. So again, you know, we breaking the characteristics down. You know, get your strong concordance. Go into the Bible if you want to know what ruddy mean, or you know, fair countenance mean. But when I read it, that's the image I get. You know, he felt disrespected, and to this day, light skinned brothers still have that same problem. All right, let's keep going. Let's go into the Songs of Solomon. And the Songs of Solomon highlighted a couple of times. And just to let y'all know, Solomon was actually King David's son. And Solomon actually took over once King David reign came to an end. And Solomon was the wisest man on earth at that time. Probably was the wisest man ever in this book until the Messiah stepped on the scene. So Solomon, and we're going into the Songs of Solomon, and we're going into the first Song of Solomon, and we're going to read 5 and 6. And this is actually a song that a young woman was actually singing Solomon. But in these two verses, this young woman clearly breaks down the description of her color. I am black but comely, O you daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's children were angry at me. They made me the keepers of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. You ever heard, I'm black but lovely? That's where this comes from. I am black but comely. Comely just means lovely. That means she was beautiful. She was saying that I'm black but I'm beautiful. And then she go into describing her characteristics. She said that's the tents of Kedar, that's the curtains of Solomon. She telling you that like she dark skinned, like she telling you like she of a darker race. She said, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me again. I already mentioned that earlier. I said, hold on, well, my mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keepers of the vineyard. She basically saying, you know, I'm black because I've been out in the sun. You know, she said, I've been keeper of the vineyards. I mean, anybody, like I said earlier, when we out in the sun, we get darker. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We can't help that. But the thing about it is we can be out in the sun and we get darker and we don't get no type of, you know, skin cancer. We don't get skin burnt. We don't got to put on lotion or none of that. And that just lets you know, like, you know, it's just that pigment in our skin allow that to happen where it don't necessarily physically hurt us. And so she telling you, clear as day, that look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. She's saying I'm black. I mean, I'm darker because I done got cooked in the sun. And that's her describing her characteristics. But she finna describe Solomon too. So let's move over and let's go to Songs of Solomon 5. And we're gonna read 10 and 11. And this is where she describing Solomon, the actual king. My beloved is white and ruddy, the most chief among 10,000. His head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. Again, I'll read 11. His head is the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. And 10, when she say my beloved is white and ruddy, she basically saying he pure. You know what I'm saying? And again, he light skinned. You know what I'm saying? He ruddy. He got that from his father, David. You see that twice again, where, you know, this is a light skinned brother, and she said he's the most chief among 10,000. His head is the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. You know, she telling you his locks are bushy. Like that's us. You know what I'm saying? He was a light skinned brother who had locks that was bushy and black as a raven. You know, our hair, the only ones that get bushy. You can't compare nobody else's hair to being a bush ever. You know, you got to be of our race or our skin tone. The Hebrew Israelites is the only ones who hair get bushy. It's even Africans and people were, the sons of Ham who hair don't even get bushy. When you see them, most of the time they bald head or their hair is beady or matted to their skull, but their hair don't even get bushy. Our hairs is the only ones to get bushy, and she telling you, and as black as a raven, his locks are bushy and black as a raven. She defined the skin tone, ruddy, yeah, light skinned brother with long black dreadlocks, like and they was bushy. We even came out, with a couple hairstyles called the bush. In the '70s we made the afro the bush, popular. It lasted a little bit into the '80s. Then it came back in the mid '90s, and now you starting to see it even again. You got Colin Kaepernick rocking a bush. You got the mayor of Baltimore, the young black brother rocking a bush, and you got a lot of prominent people that's letting their hair grow out into a bush, but you can't refer nobody else's hair to a bush. All right. Now let's turn to Lamentations, and we're gonna go into two more descriptions. And there's a lot of descriptions in here that I left out, but I'm just highlighting them so y'all can see that we went all throughout this book, And there's a lot of stuff that I could go into that I'm not gonna go into, and like I'm not gonna even go into, how Paul was mistaken again, like I said earlier, for Egyptian. And they forgot. I mean, they thought he was that because he was so smart and everything else, and his skin color. But we're gonna go to Lamentations, and Lamentations is right behind Jeremiah, and we're gonna hit two different sections in Lamentations. First, we're gonna go to Lamentations 4, and we're gonna read 7 and 8. All right, Lamentations 4, 7 and 8. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. Their visage is blacker than the coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin clings to their bones. It is withered. It has become like a stick. So the Nazarites didn't allow nothing in their body. They took oaths. They didn't drink alcohol. They did everything the right way. They was pure. And so when they say pure than snow and whiter than milk, that means like they didn't defile their body at all. They didn't partake in the rest of the stuff the rest of the Hebrews might be partaking in that time. No wine, no drinks made with grapes in them. None of that, And it said their bodies were more ruddy in the body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. They were saying that their skin tone shine. You can just look at them and tell that they was pure. Like they was more ruddy in body than rubies. And if you look at a ruby, like a ruby is like it's like a darkish red, and it got like a black tint like in the inside of it. Like, and I'm gonna put a picture up there so y'all can see what a ruby look like. But it's like a dark red, like image, and it shine, and you can see the black and the red through it. Like you can see both of them, and it said, it's shining more ruddy in body than rubies, and their polishing was of a sapphire, so you could just look at them and tell like that they had a glow with them, like and you can see that today. Sometimes you see people like glowing, like anytime you see a woman that's pregnant, she usually got that glow because she eating right, she eating healthy, She ain't putting no alcohol in her body. She probably ain't smoking it, and she get that little pregnant glow to her. And sometimes you even see that with some of our brothers who come home from jail, when they in jail doing everything, working out right. They in jail eating right, and then they come out when they first get out of jail. They got that glow to them, like their skin tone is glowing. They just look healthy, and you can see health. A lot of times we act like we can't see health in a person, but you can see somebody, and you can tell that somebody like, oh man, he look good, like, or she look good, like, man, they look healthy, they look clean, like, or just versus when you know somebody who's ever on drugs and got themselves clean, and they probably was skinny or whatsoever. Once they bounce back, you can tell, you could actually see health, and that's what they saying. Like, you could tell that these Nazarites was pure. And then Ada say their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin clings to their bone. It is withered. It has become like a stick. And that's the same way. You can see health. They say their visage is blacker than a coal. That's basically their appearance is blacker than a coal. Their skin, like, it's dark. But the whole point about it, what I'm trying to point out is they had to be somewhat our complexion for their skin to get for their skin to appear blacker than the coal. They already had to be that complexion. What this saying is they don't look healthy no more. They don't look the same, and their skin is withering to their bones. Like, they didn't look the same, and this was based on because, you know, they was in captation. They was in, you know, captivity, and they weren't doing all the same things that they was doing. I mean, they probably weren't able anymore, but they was not living the same way they was, and you can actually see it in their skin tone. But I'm just pointing out how the description of these people was, again, letting them know that these people was our complexion, and they look just like me and you. All right, let's move over. We're going to read one more, and then we're going to be done for today. We're going to go to Lamentations, and we're going to read Lamentations 5:10. And in Lamentation 5:10 is pretty self-explanatory. It's telling you know, the reason why. They look like they look. Let's say, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. So it's telling you, right then and there, flat out. You know, I mean, it's telling you. He's saying our skin was black because of the terrible famine. He's saying that they weren't eating right. You know, they couldn't get the proper foods that they needed. And for somebody to say that their skin was black like an oven, if you ever seen the inside of an oven, and back then they had clay ovens, but if you ever seen the clay oven, if you ever been somewhere and look inside a clay oven, it's pitch black. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you can open up your oven at home. If you ain't cleaned it in a while, you're going to see that, you know, once that carbon build up, it get black. And that's how he comparing his skin tone. So that lets you know that these people already had to be brown somewhat for their skin to get black. You can't be a person of a lighter complexion, or you can't be a Caucasian, or you can't be someone from the Middle East and be in turn all the way to black in the oven. It just don't work like that. Like, what I'm saying is, like the Jewish people over there today, you can't take those people and put them out the sun, and they skin tone gonna ever get black as another. It's not just gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen like that. That's just all to it. The only way you gonna get your skin tone gonna get blacker than the oven if you already got pigment in your skin. If you looking like me, now if you looking like me, your skin tone can go there. You can get, you know, a black as an oven. But the people over there now, it's not gonna happen. So again, please like, share, comment, and if you disagree with me at all, then leave that in the comments too. I'm okay with that. Like I said, like, this is gonna be a mini series, and the timeline been kind of off. I didn't make this video as quick as I said I was, but I actually did. You know, but I've been waiting to post it because I wanted that first video to sink in, and I wanted y'all to study on that first video before I just rush and hit y'all with videos. But it's time for my people to wake up and realize that we do got an identity, And we got to know, our heritage go deeper than 400 years, and we gonna continue. And I got at least 2 more videos that I'm gonna put out to let y'all know your identity, so maybe we can stop this genocide that's going on, and we realize that we got a history that go further than 400 years, and we got a rich history, a history that give us a way of life to live by. And if we live by this way of life, we better get along with each other better. We better get along with everybody around us better, and we just have a deeper understanding of what we need to do to get back right, to align ourselves with God, and align ourselves right in this earth, because it's troubling. You know what I'm saying? Just looking at the news, going outside, like it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. And we got to take that power and control back over our communities, over our lives, and we got to start living the right way. We got to be a light versus so much darkness. So please like, care, share, and comment. Have a great day, Real Motivation.